Yeah, you're saying. All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the November 18th regular meeting of your Board of Commissioners. We're now in order. Tonight, our invocation will be given by the Reverend Wayne Robertson of Greenwood Presbyterian Church in Reidsville, North Carolina. I'll ask everyone, if you're able to stand and remain standing following the invocation, please stand if you're able.
Thank you for inviting me to come and share prayer with you this evening. Let us pray. God, we thank you for this beautiful day you have given us. Let us be mindful that every day we have and everything that we have is a gift from you. And as we approach this Thanksgiving season next week, let us be extra thankful for all that we have. We should be thankful every day for the things you give us. Even the air we breathe is a gift from you, and we thank you for that. And as we gather here this evening, we remember our neighbors to the west who've been through the devastating flood. They have a lot of work to be done. Let us be able to do whatever the need may be to help them get back to somewhat of a normal life. Some of them lost everything they have, and we need to be mindful of that and help them out in any way that we possibly can. As we go into December, we remember Christmas. Christmas is one of the seasons where we receive one of the greatest gifts you give us, and that was the gift of your Son, Jesus Christ. You sent him here in this earth to be among us, to teach us, to give us the examples that you want us to live by, and we thank you for that. Then he became that perfect sacrifice, the one-time only sacrifice that we need so that all of our sins would be forgiven and that we would have the gift of eternal life, a place that you have prepared for us to spend all of eternity. And we thank you for that. That place has no pain, no sorrow, just only wonderful things will happen there. Be with us now as we pray for our commissioners as they carry on the business of the county, for our state leaders, for our nation's leaders as we prepare to make an exchange from one president to another. May they be able to bring some peace and harmony to our country, which seems to be much divided now. Be with the leaders of all the nations of the world, especially those who are involved with many wars that are going on. Our prayer is that you will bring peace to the world. We need peace, for we cannot keep going on fighting forever. And we ask that you would work with the leaders to bring peace. Be with us now as we can carry on this evening. And as we leave here, give us safe travels back to our homes. For it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Lance, do you have the handheld mic? Thank you. I'm going to let Commissioner Powell introduce the person giving our pledge tonight.
So it's my pleasure tonight to introduce to you my grandson, my youngest grandson, Sam Milliken. Sam's 4 years old and attends Apples Chapel Daycare, and this will be his last year there before he starts into the school system. And I'd just like to say this real quick. 2 years ago, my oldest grandson, Luke Milliken, come and said the pledge when I was being sworn in. And that started the tradition here of having children come in and say the pledge. And so we appreciate that, and that's been a huge success, and we want to continue that on. So, Sam, say the pledge for us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good job.
Thank you, Mr. Milliken. Be seated.
Mr. Chair, before we move on, I think we need to make one small correction to our agenda. Item 4B, we need to delay because the unavailability of Mr. Collins this evening.
Very good. Thank you. With that, do we have a second with this amendment? Very good, and we'll move down, we'll approve that in just a little bit. Our next item is item 4A, a request consideration of approval for a resolution. Mr. Manager?
Yes, Mr. Chair. A resolution honoring the Rockingham County Sheriff's Office for their dedicated public service in western North Carolina. Whereas North Carolina's western counties were historically and heavily impacted by Hurricane Helene on September 27, 2024, with it being one of the largest hurricanes to make landfall in the continental United States, with torrential rains, severe flooding, and landslides. And whereas soon after the hurricane devastated many areas of the North Carolina mountains, the North Carolina Sheriff's Association put into operations its Sheriffs Helping Sheriffs Emergency Support Program, where sheriffs across North Carolina stand ready to send deputies to areas affected by catastrophic events or emergency assistance utilizing manual aid requests for law enforcement assistance and manpower, according to the Public Information Officer, Lieutenant Kevin Southern. And whereas Rockingham County Sheriff's Office team was deployed on October 6th to Buncombe County for 7 days to provide disaster aid and support, returned October 13th, 2024. And whereas the Sheriff's Office team included Sheriff Sam Page, Captain Jason Hutchins, Lieutenant Kevin Southern, Sergeant C.T. Underwood, Corporal Walt Pascal, Detective Thompson, Detective Guerrera, and Deputy Stephen Griffith. And whereas this team partnered with the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Office and other volunteers and were tasked with providing law enforcement assistance in storm-affected areas, search, rescue, and recovery, delivering supplies to those in need, damage documentation, and neighborhood welfare checks. And whereas all of the numerous volunteers, including out-of-county firefighters, paramedics, law enforcement, telecommunicators, Samaritan Purse, church volunteers, Salvation Army, North Carolina National Guard, regular military, linemen, utility workers, and the North Carolina DOT worked exceptionally well together, with Sheriff Page and his team observing the teamwork and love for others was displayed at its finest. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Rockingham County Board of Commissioners that the Rockingham County Sheriff's Office team is hereby honored for their dedicated, selfless public service to the citizens of Rockingham County, Western North Carolina, and wherever they may be called to serve. This is the 18th day of November 2024. Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. I'll ask those members that are here to step forward tonight. Gentlemen, let's make our way down. We'll stand in front. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate this. I'll present this to the sheriff. Thank you, everyone. Sheriff, would anybody like to say anything?
What I would first like to say is I want to thank all the participants. There was all of the names. There was a lot of people behind the scenes who were making a difference. But I want to thank our Board of Commissioners and our county manager over there. I want to thank everybody for your support and giving us the opportunity to go and help others in need. It was a program called, for us, was Sheriffs Helping Sheriffs, and I think there were about 600 some deputies across North Carolina that went up over a several-week period to help, and of course, they still need help up there. But again, according to the North Carolina Sheriff's Association, there wasn't a sheriff in the county that was affected that didn't get assistance that was needed. So again, I want to thank all of our commissioners for your support. I don't have all my staff here because they are on different missions, but again, I want to thank the staff that are here, and I want to thank the commissioners for your support and being with us, and your thoughts and prayers, ladies and gentlemen, because we needed that while we were up there. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Oh, excuse me. One more picture.
Get them all.
A little bit more. Oh, yes, we love.
Hold on, we got to switch. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. God bless y'all. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Guys, go ahead and stay down here if you will, commissioners. And we'll go ahead and let Lance go ahead and read the next recognition, if you will. We'll just stay down here.
Yes, sir. Resolution honoring Donald T. Powell for his dedicated service to the citizens of Rockingham County. Whereas Don Powell has given of his time and energy in public service to the citizens of Rockingham County, and whereas Don Powell was appointed to fulfill a seat on the Rockingham County Board of Commissioners in September 2021, was elected in 2022, and was appointed by the board to serve as the vice chair for the 2023-24 fiscal year. And whereas during his term as commissioner, Don Powell has worked diligently to advance many areas of county government, including fiscal responsibility, economic development, community development, and safety. And whereas Don Powell, as a commissioner representative, served on the Health and Human Services Board, Cooperative Extension Advisory Council, Hunting and Wildlife Advisory Committee, and the Piedmont Triad Regional Workforce Development Board. And whereas while commissioner, he supported significant initiatives to improve the lives of our citizens, including supporting the creation of 1,500 jobs in the county, advocating for student resource officers in every school, recruitment and retention of Rockingham County employees, supporting the availability of broadband covering for 98% of the county, and being co-chair of the Citizens for the Quarter Cent Sales Tax Committee to build a workforce development center for the Rockingham County Community College as a proponent of college and trade degree programs. And whereas he previously served as Rockingham County Deputy in 1988 and was promoted to detective in 1989, resigning in 1995 to go into business for himself, remaining as a part-time reserve until 1998, is the president and founder of Powell & Associates Incorporated, as a contracting firm in Reedsville since 2009, is a long life member of Lawsonville Road Baptist Church, where he serves as choir director. Now therefore be it resolved by the Rockingham County Board of Commissioners that Don Powell is hereby honored for his years of dedicated service to his community and citizens of Rockingham County, this the 18th day of November 2024.
Very good.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Let me say, Don, on a personal note, how much I appreciate you. You've been a great commissioner and a friend. Thank you, sir, for your service to the community.
So, I never miss an opportunity to speak, so this won't be any different. Let me just say, first of all, that I want to thank my family who's here tonight, because they endured some of the hardships of campaigning that I did, and they have supported me for the last 3.5 years. Ladies and gentlemen, the election system in our county has gotten very ugly in the last few years, and that's because we have a handful of people in this county that can find a problem for every solution. And so hopefully that gets better as we go on, but thank you to my family for supporting me in this endeavor. I want to thank you folks that come out tonight. Many of you are friends, and a lot of you are employees and department heads here, and we've had a great working relationship, and I will certainly miss that. And I'd also like to thank the leadership team here for their leadership in this county, and I'd like to thank the citizens finally for allowing me the opportunity to serve as a commissioner for these years. There has been a lot done for this county, and this board, I can say, has been one that makes their decisions not solely on the circumstances surrounding the very day, but they make their decisions based on what may be better in the future for Rockingham County. If we made our decisions solely on the circumstances surrounding us at the time, we would be ill prepared to take advantage of the opportunities that come tomorrow. And finally, I'd like to say to my fellow commissioners, I want to thank you guys. You're a great group of guys. Houston, I didn't know you, until we started campaigning. But I can tell you guys that this is a straight-up guy. He's very humble, and he does his homework, and he knows what he's voting on when he votes, and he's very conscious of the taxpayers' dollars. And then Mark and I, we knew each other from the party, but I feel like that relationship has gotten much tighter, and I'm certainly glad to leave this board saying that you are my friend. And Charlie and I have known each other for quite some time. I've worked for him, and he even paid me, and which is always a good thing. But Charlie, thank you for your friendship, and you've been a wonderful person to work with, and I hope you the best in the future. And then to Perry Mason right here beside of me, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, let me just tell you, don't ever let people dictate to you how you're going to feel about somebody. Just because one person doesn't like another doesn't mean that that's what you need to do. Give everybody a chance. Give them a chance to prove themselves to you. When I got on this board, I got 3 calls that said, I'm not going to support you if you vote with Kevin, or if you like Kevin, or if you're Kevin's friend, and they didn't. So, but what I found out was that he was a very smart guy, and he has the county's best interest at heart. We've worked very well together. We have not always agreed, but we leave here tonight as friends, and that will carry on into the future, and I thank you for that. And with that, Mr. Chair, let me just say to Lance, you're the greatest county manager that I know of. I only know you, but no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, you've been very good to work with, and this whole team at Rockingham County has been good to work with. Don't let people tell you that we have all these problems, because we have people in leadership positions here that has made this county better than it was 3.5 years ago. And finally, I guess, to Lee Cochran. I work with her tremendously on the economic development side, and I'm on that board, and it's been a pleasure to work with you. She is the best in the state, and she's done a tremendous job for our county, and certainly wish you the very best in the future, too. With that, Mr. Chair, I'm done.
Thank you, sir. Gentlemen, anyone else want to have any comments?
Certainly appreciate Don for his service and his insight. He has put a lot of time and effort into making Rockingham County better than it was when he started serving on this board. There is another recognition for Don that just from a timing standpoint, we're unable to get it here right now, but it will be here in the very near future, maybe as early as tomorrow. And the General Assembly of the state of North Carolina has also is sending a certificate thanking you for your service to the citizens of Rockingham County. So thank you, Don.
Thank you.
With that, we're going to take some pictures, then we're going to have about a 10-minute recess. Let's go back to work, everyone. We're back in session, and next item on our list is the approval of our agenda as amended. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
We have a motion and a second. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Very good. Our consent agenda, items on the consent agenda are non-controversial items. However, if anyone has any questions about the items, please contact Lance Metzler, the county manager. With that, do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented?
Make a motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Very good. Motion carries. With that, the next item on our agenda is public comment. We don't have anyone signed up. We have a name scratched out, but I think they're going to the public hearing. Is that correct, Susan? Very good. So with that, there will be no public comment tonight. With that, we'll have a public hearing, and we'll hear from Hiram Marziano. Marzi?
What I have for you is rezoning request 2024-20. It's a request to rezone a property from residence, I'm sorry, it's 23. I'm channeling Lynn's typos for you. A request to rezone the property from residential protected to highway commercial. It's located at the address formerly for the structure that was there was 114 Will Road. It's in the Mayo Township. This is a traditional non-conditional rezoning. At the planning board meeting last month, they did recommend denial of this request 7-0, citing unreasonable factors for the community due to the surrounding community area, mostly being residential protected and almost entirely residential in nature. Our vicinity map has us just outside the Mayodan ETJ. You can see here on this map, that little blue highlight there just south of River Road. All that yellow is residential protected. The green is residential agricultural. You'll notice that just across the highway on River Road, there is highway commercial. There's also office and institutional just north of this, and just north of that, even further, is Lowe's Hardware and that commercial district up there off of 135. This is in our G3 land use corridor. Ticks the boxes for everything except for water and sewer access. It's in the heavy growth corridor. It's got primary access. It's got quick access to the highway. So it ticked a lot of boxes towards the consistency towards the land use plan. But here is an aerial quickly of the site. You can notice that the immediately surrounding areas are nothing but residential homes and open agricultural area. And that's primarily why the planning board felt that it was unreasonable request. And again, the land use plan calls for a lot of this area to be in the future commercial and mixed uses. And I'll take any questions.
Well, guys, let's open the public hearing first. And the public hearing has been opened. We do have some folks signed up to speak tonight. So if you have signed up to speak, please listen as our county attorney reads the guidelines for the public comment tonight, or for the public hearing, rather, excuse me. Clyde?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The applicant will be allotted 15 minutes to present their proposal. At the conclusion of the applicant's presentation, the public will have an opportunity to speak regarding the proposal. The public who have signed up to speak will have 3 minutes to speak or can yield his or her time to another individual. However, the yielded time will only exist for 6 minutes collectively, and there's a 30-minute time limit for public comments. So when you approach the podium, please state your name and your address. And once the public has had an opportunity to voice their opinion, the applicant is allotted another 7 minutes to provide a rebuttal. And following the public hearing, the discussion by the public, then the Board of Commissioners will be afforded opportunity to speak and voice their opinions, either approving or denying the application. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney. With that, we will allow the applicant to speak. If you're here, Mr. Patel, if you'll make your way, you'll have 15 minutes to speak tonight. Give us your name and address.
My name is Hemal Patel, and my address is 140 Stones Point Court in Stokesdale, North Carolina, Rockingham County. And I'm here to request a rezoning proposal for this piece of land I had purchased a little while ago. I'm planning to build a boat and RV storage. It will not be requiring any water or sewer connections, just electricity. It'll be nothing but a parking lot that is fenced in, and a remote control keypad operated gate that will open the doors for people to come in and park their boats and RVs. And the reason why I have been doing this is because I've been a resident for about over 14 years and been in Mayodan for 14 years. And the closest, I'm a boat owner too, and an RV owner. The closest one that is from Mayodan is in Stokesdale near Ballew's Lake, and it is always full. And the closest one that is available is in Greensboro or Eden. And also there is a lot of new development happening on River Road. There are new subdivisions being built which do not allow people to park their boats and RVs in their driveways. And I was going through the 2040 vision plan, and there is a great plan to build almost 1,600 homes just 10 miles from this location. And those are going to be in the new tight-knit community where there are going to be narrower driveways and all. So considering that, I think this would be a good way to service the people that are going to be moving in. Also, if we have this boat and RV storage, people will be encouraged to purchase boats and RVs from these neighborhoods they live in. Right now, they don't do it because they have nowhere to park them. And with this available, they can drive by, they can see their stuff while driving back to home or back to work and all that. And it'll be easy for them to own that, which in fact impacts the county revenue and tax dollars. And I have a little picture diagram, rough diagram proposed over here, that what it would look like. If you want, I can pass it around. The concerns the resident had in the planning and zoning hearing was increasing traffic and noise, and that's because they did not know what I was planning to open up over there. But I feel that if, with this, it doesn't not increase a lot of traffic or a lot of noise. It's basically a glorified parking lot where people pay to park their boat and RV. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
All right, we may ask some questions later. So you're done with your presentation?
Yes, sir.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Patel. What we'll do, we'll go ahead and allow the others who wanted to speak, and we may take questions later, so we may ask you to come back up. So with that, we have David Stewart, who signed up to speak. Mr. Stewart, give us your name and address, sir.
Yes, my name is David Stewart. I live on 812 Dan Valley Road, right below where he's talking about the parking lot he wants to do. The problem is right there, the road is very narrow. The speed limit's 45. And Wheel Road, where it runs into Dan Valley, where you turn in, there's no way you can put a camper in there. So this 30-foot longer period without going in a ditch. You know, it's, the community of that neighborhood is all residential. You know, and, you know, it's just be another hazard for everybody on the road. We got people now that think that's Highway 73 going through there instead of Dan Valley roads. You know, and we appreciate anything y'all can do for us.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Pam Watkins.
Give my time to Martha Ann.
Very good. All right, with that, we have Robert Sharp next.
Good evening. My name is Robert Sharp. I live at 419 River Road. And all of you who are familiar with the Dan Valley community understand that we are pretty much a split community now. We have a commercial section. We've got Lowe's and Walmart and all the other associated businesses there. And then that's on 135 and the intersection of 220. It's a commercial zone. It's a place for business. The rest of it is residential. And I have spoken to, I don't know how many people, not just in our community, but in Madison, Mint, and Stoneville, and I have yet to find any one person who is in favor of this rezoning. It's a residential neighborhood. We don't need it. He's probably got a good idea for a business, but this is just not the place for it. And the development we have already, I mean, it's a benefit to us. It's a benefit to the county, but on the other hand, it has created traffic, litter. My wife owns 3 corners of that intersection there, and I can go on a weekly basis and pick up a trash bag full of litter from every one of those businesses in that commercial zone. Not only that, the traffic, it's pretty much a drag strip through there. You can go anytime you go through there, you can see black marks on the road, and it's a daily thing. It's not just once in a while. But as far as a commercial enterprise at this location, I don't think this is the place for it. It's residential, and it needs to stay that way. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sharp. Martha Sharp, and you have 6 minutes because she has time donated.
Well,
Give us your name and address, ma'am.
Martha Sharp, 419 River Road. I was asked to bring a statement, which I gave to the clerk.
Ma'am, we all have a copy of that, yes.
From the Dan Valley Community Association. This group met this past Thursday night, as it has monthly for over 60 years. This is a true community. This statement, as you see, strongly agrees with the Planning and Zoning Board's vote opposing the zoning to highway commercial at Will Road and Dan Valley Road. It, in fact, opposes any rezoning changes. The community has been residential and agricultural forever. While not opposed to change, we are opposed to unneeded change. There's quite a bit of commercial use, as Robert referred to, less than a mile from this land. There's already light pollution in part of the area from Lowe's. There's a lady who has horses who said she doesn't need night lights. The lights from Lowe's light her pasture at night. Within a fourth of a mile of this area, there are more than 20 horses. There are chickens, there are goats. It's agriculture. Within a half a mile, several acres of soybeans and hay are farmed. People have moved there for peace and sereneness in the area. The Planning and Zoning Board voted unanimously, as they said, against this rezoning. And part of these reasons were a resident who spoke at that meeting, plus one of the zoning board members who had been out to look at it, both said they could not pull their RV into this without going into a ditch. They questioned the need for security lighting, again, more light pollution. No water or sewage available. The planning board had concerns about the control of the care for the vehicles, such as would the owners want to come in, change oil on their boat or whatever, and what would they do with that oil? Diminished value to the homes. The county staff had said in part, and I quote, as this property has been zoned residential for many years, impacts from commercial use may impact the surrounding residential and agricultural area. And it's not in the public interest, will not support or enhance the welfare of the community, end quote. We may have gotten it wrong. I understood from two persons who spoke with them that Mr. Patel was not going to appeal the board's ruling. Therefore, in fact, if he wanted to use this land for housing or something, rezoning would in fact not allow him to do that. In the board packet, an ordinance says, whereas the Rockingham County Board of Commissioners makes land use decisions with regard to health, safety, and general welfare of the public, there are various reasons discussed at the Planning and Zoning Board that covered most of these things. Since that meeting, I noticed added to the report from the staff, but not included with the Planning and Zoning Board Committee, was that property is served by private well and septic. That was not in the Planning Board presentation. And I think if that's true, it has to come from the adjoining property, which is about a half an acre, owned by the person who originally sold this land. And unless I'm mistaken, the land that we're talking about will not perk. Throughout, reference has been made to the county land use plan, and I agree that's needed. But we also need more than just commercialism and words on paper. We need people who will support those commercial endeavors. And I'm afraid people will stop coming to the area if we lose the community spirit. And rezoning is just kind of opening the door to more rezoning. And I was kind of suspect when I saw that there was a paper ready to be signed to approve this in the packet. I thought, well, maybe that's all normal, but it just seemed kind of weird. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sharp. Kevin Wilson. Please state your name and address, Mr. Wilson.
Hello, my name is Kevin Wilson. I live at 460 River Road. I also own the land directly across the road from the property that you're wanting to rezone. My concerns is the lighting and the road access. We plan on building a house. My daughter's going to build a house directly across the road. I don't really think she would want to look at a parking lot. I think it'd be better for a house or something in that nature, like a single-family residence, like the area that everything else in the area. And the speed of cars is one thing on the road. We're getting it on both sides on Dan Valley Road and River Road. The stop sign really didn't change anything. I was out picking up trash this afternoon, actually. I guess they try to throw it in my fence for no reason. Other than that, I kind of looked at the lot where he's wanting to, I have a 32-foot trailer also, and I don't think that I could pull in the lot and be able to turn it around while the lot is empty, much less if there was 30, 40 more vehicles there. So I'm kind of opposed to the situation too. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. With that, we will allow the applicant, you have 7 minutes to respond, sir, if you make your way. You don't need to state your name and address again.
Okay. About the questions about lighting. We have very energy efficiency lighting nowadays, like we have in the parking lot outside, which are motion sensor. They only come on when there is motion detected. So there is no reason to have the lights on all night long. So to address that, there will be minimum light pollution unless somebody shows up at night to park their boat or RV is when the lights will come on. And about the incidents that might happen on the lot while there is somebody doing an oil change, there will be a term and conditions where they sign a contract which says it is not allowed over there. They'll have to take it to a mechanic to get any maintenance done. In the event, if they do it, there will be an insurance policy in place to cover incidents like them. So that takes care of that. And the entry exit, where it was a question that is not going to be big enough to accommodate a vehicle going in, it's just a matter of opening the doors, increasing the size of the entrance to accommodate a bigger turn from our vehicle. So that should not be a problem. And this kind of business, I understand that there is Lowe's, there is Walmart, like a mile up the road from there. But this kind of a business doesn't need a high traffic area. This can be nestled in the back roads, somewhere it is tucked away. It doesn't need high traffic. That's what I'm trying to say. And it does not increase traffic either. And since the lady said it will not perk for a sewage system, a septic system, this is the perfect use for that property where it is not going to require any water or sewer facilities. It'll just require electricity and internet. And about the speed of vehicles that are racing through that area, Dan Valley Road is a major road that connects straightway from the commercial Walmart district and the high school, McMichael High School, straight to downtown Madison. And they have recently even upgraded the bridge on Dan Valley Road to accommodate heavier traffic over there. There are very, very heavy trucks that commute from there on a regular basis, that go to the new, they opened a new hardware place in downtown Madison, and there is a sod manufacturing, let prepare sod. They have very huge trucks that go through Dan Valley Road. So I think the traffic situation is okay over there, and it is a major road, but it's still not a major highway, and that's why I feel like this kind of a business is appropriate for that place, for that location. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Patel. With that is everyone who has signed up to speak tonight, and I think everyone has spoke who wanted to. So with that, we will close the public hearing, and we will ask, gentlemen, do we have any questions? All right, Commissioner Powell.
Mr. Marziano, can you tell me what, if this was to be approved, the applicant intends to put a fence around this property?
They'd have to follow all the commercial standards that are in the UDO, which includes a vegetative screening, and they could use a privacy fence intermixed with that vegetative screen. So they would have to put a perimeter around the adjoining properties for the fence. So against the roads, we don't require it. So it wouldn't be surrounding the whole property. It'd be along the western and southern borders.
I would think that with the proposed use for this, it would be a security issue, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah, I assume they're going to put a fence around for their security. I'm talking about just fencing and screening that we would require. The use itself does not require a fence, but most people do put a fence up for their uses of similar nature.
So most likely, because of security concerns, there will be a fence around this property.
That'd be a better question for Mr. Patel, but yes, most people do that.
Okay. And then, are you aware of what would be on the ground for this? Obviously, I would assume he's not going to leave it grass.
Again, that's a better question for him. I believe it'd be gravel, is what he presented at the planning board meeting.
Yes, Mr. Patel?
Yes, Mr. Patel, could you make your way back to the podium? Thank you.
Remind y'all that while this is a use that he wants to use it for, we do need to consider all possible uses when considering a traditional rezoning.
Thank you, Marzie.
Yes, Mr. Patel, could you, do you plan to put a fence around this property for security purposes?
Yes, there will be a fence.
Chain link?
Yes, sir.
And then what do you plan for these vehicles to drive on? Are you going to put rock down or?
Gravel, it'll be gravel,
Okay.
tightly packed gravel.
Okay, and then I see on this diagram, we've got an office.
Yeah,
Is that going to be maintained with somebody there?
no, that'll be one of them storage buildings that we see being sold on the side of the highway. And that'll have some electronic equipment in it and the security system.
Okay. All right, and Mr. Marziano, does those storage buildings meet the code for what he's going to do with it?
I haven't discussed any of that with the building inspectors. I'm not sure if that could be used that way in a commercial nature or not, but seeing as how it won't be a staffed building, it may be possible to renovate it. Those things usually come with not for residential habitation, but don't think the warnings sit there, or the engineering design sit there and say anything about commercial use. So that's something I would have to look into if approved and if proposed.
Okay. And there was one more question I was going to ask you, and old age just took it from me. So maybe I'll think of it in a minute. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Berger, do you have a question?
Yes. So this is a straight rezoning request, is that
Yes.
right? So these, I guess, conditions that are being mentioned are really not part of the application.
No, they're not.
Are there other zoning classifications that this use fits into?
This specific use, I believe, also falls under neighborhood commercial. And I'd have to double check, but I believe we added it to rural commercial as well.
I think so. And I just want to point out for the public, because of a comment that was made, as far as the approval that's in our packet, that's in every packet that we get. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was going to address that. In an abundance of caution in planning, and we try to put in there, in case there is an approval, we try to have an ordinance for y'all to approve. But you'll also notice you also have draft denial motions and draft, so we try to plan for all contingencies to lessen the burden at the meeting.
That just simplifies what takes
Yeah.
place today, so everything's already prepared.
Right.
All right. I don't have any other questions at this point. Once questions are over, I'll.
Okay, Commissioner?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Marzi, I saw the diagram with the proposal, the idea that he has here. It doesn't appear that setbacks are factored into this. Have you looked at this, or do you have any idea how setbacks?
We saw the sketch at the planning board meeting. I don't know if it's evolved since that point or not. As far as its full development, without seeing the site with the transposed onto the property, I couldn't tell if this is a shortened, truncated part of the property, if it goes all the way to the boundaries. But yes, certain portions of the access would have to meet setbacks. Traditionally, we don't require parking to be outside the setback. It usually is allowed in there. It's usually more vertical structures that are required to meet those setbacks.
Okay.
So that being said, that parking spaces might be fine, the office may not. So without having like any kind of dimensions on there, I couldn't give you.
Does the setback affect where the fencing would need to be placed, or is?
No, the fencing can go in the setbacks and buffers.
Okay.
The security fencing should probably meet the setbacks. The setbacks, just so everyone's aware of, and part of the reason why, in staff's original belief of this, it would limit so many of the more intensive factors, you're looking at 50-foot setbacks.
Okay.
So that's going to eat up a huge chunk of the property.
Right.
So that's where, when we were doing our checklists for staff recommendation to the planning board, certain factors played into effect. Still, the planning board found that for all possible uses in the highway commercial district, they felt was unreasonable. Again, semantics being that we look at the technicalities, they look at the holistic with the community. So that being said, with those 50-foot setbacks, that really does restrict what could possibly put on the property. But traditionally, we've always let parking go into those setbacks.
Thank you. And to your point, Marzi, this seems like this idea for what we're proposing here tonight seems like very low impact sort of business, but with a rezone, if it's rezoned straight highway commercial, you have to look at whatever the highest impact could be, because if 20 years from now, Mr. Patel decides to sell the property, whatever the highest impact highway commercial could go in this rezone, correct?
Correct. And I mean, and never knowing what tomorrow brings, setbacks could be reduced to zero. You never know. That's why staff tries to look at just the consistency with the land use plan and let the planning board hash out full reasonableness with the community. But yeah, we do have to look at all the available uses, not just his specific desires for this type of rezoning.
Thank you, Marzi. I have some comments, but if we've got more questions, I can yield to more questions.
I'd say go ahead while you have the floor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Mr. Patel, let me start. I was watching the planning board meeting, and we appreciate you being part of the community, and I appreciate you being a volunteer firefighter. We're always asking for more people to be volunteer firefighters, and I think you have a great idea. I mean, I think this is something that probably there's a need based on the number. This is actually not the first time boating and storage plan has come before the board in the last couple of years, so I think there's probably a business to be made there. The thing that I have to consider when I'm looking at this is the reasonable and consistency. And while it is consistent with the land use plan, it doesn't appear to be reasonable to my eye based on where the location is. So, I don't know how this is going to go for you tonight, but just because this might not be the right location doesn't mean that we don't appreciate you trying to have a business here and we don't think it's a good idea, or I don't think it's a good idea. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, you can respond.
About the wide range of plans that can happen on the lot, considering it's turned into highway commercial, considering the size of the lot and the available infrastructure, like no water, no sewer, it limits the usage to a very, very small list of items that can happen over there. And tomorrow, if I try to build something else, it probably will not even be able to do it over there. So just making you guys aware that even though it is highway commercial, it limits the usage for the lot very, very short. And secondly, when I was trying to apply for the rezoning permit, I was not aware of any procedures. This is my first time doing this. So he helped me fill out the forms. And in the beginning, I was thinking about doing a different zoning that was rural commercial. But then even in the application, I have a / highway commercial, and I was told I need to just pick one. So the thing I'm trying to do, it falls under all three categories: highway commercial, rural commercial, and there was another neighborhood commercial. So if you feel highway commercial is too wide of a spectrum for the future, I'd be happy if you narrow the spectrum and give me a neighborhood commercial so that I can go ahead and open up this business over there.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Richardson?
Marzi, for the public's benefit, about how many potential uses are there under highway commercial?
Good question. Probably about more than 100.
Yep. Thank you.
Some of those being temporary, some of those being special use, some of those being conditional only. So, but yeah, it's a high intense category.
We do not intend to go through the laundry list.
Yeah.
I'll point out that although there may be some limitations now, As far as, sewer availability, when I'm looking at something, I'm looking at what the zoning map allows. As far as water and sewer, that's another part of the equation. And what we do as far as zoning is completely separate from water and sewer, because water and sewer availability can change over time, whether you're running water lines or sewer lines in different areas. So I heard a number of comments tonight that really don't get into what we consider for zoning. The light pollution is not really a thing to be considered with a zoning map. Traffic is not something, we hear it every time, but that's not something to be considered with regards to a zoning map. What I specifically look at is whether or not it fits and what's the requested rezoning application. For me, going to highway commercial in that location with all the potential uses doesn't fit. But that's just for me, so.
Very good. Well, let me ask you, Mr. Patel, you do have the opportunity, if you would like to withdraw your application now before we vote, you're welcome to do that. And you offered that you may come back with something else. You have that option. If you'd like us to vote, we'll be glad to vote. So that's up to you at this point.
I would like to go forward with the vote.
Very good. With that, gentlemen, any more questions? Do we have a motion?
I make a motion, Mr. Chair, to accept the recommendation of the planning board and deny this request to rezone as not being reasonable in the interest of the public and therefore not consistent with the land use plan.
Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Very good. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, y'all.
Okay. Next item is going to be Trey Wright, Public Health Director.
I will be going over the 23-24 Community Health Assessment. Rest assured, it is not the 300-page document that you have in your packet. We were going to do a short slide deck on the summary findings and the next steps forward with that. So just a brief overview that you all should be aware of, that every 4 years, the Division of Public Health has to complete a community health assessment, or I'll start calling it a CHI from here on forward, as part of accreditation, general statute, and administrative codes, and where we look at the pulse of the community, if you will. We look at primary data that we collect, secondary data, compile that, and see what the priorities for the community may be. So every 4 years we do the CHI, and again, we talk in acronyms. In interim years, we do something called the SOCH, also known as the State of the County Health Report. And with that, any priorities we do, we have to do a Community Health Improvement Plan, or CHIPS. So again, talk a lot of acronyms. So this is our first one since COVID. So it was very interesting to look at some of these considerations. The previous priorities that you will see were mental health and substance abuse with an emphasis on opioids, physical activity and nutrition with an emphasis on diabetes, and then social determinants of health focusing on education. Again, I've said this was the first community health assessment since the COVID-19 pandemic, in which 36,000 deaths occurred in North Carolina, 350 of those in North Carolina, in Rockingham County, so you'll see some of that with leading causes of death. I've said a little bit about this already. What do we do to complete a community health assessment? We have to take primary data, so surveys. I do remember several commissioner comments in the past that you all kindly, and thank you enough, to ask folks to do the community health assessment survey. We take secondary data from the North Carolina Center of State Health Statistics, so that is the state level where they take vital records, birth records, causes of death. Also something called the North Carolina Data Dashboard, which is new, that compiles data like that and other things, agricultural, food availability. socioeconomic status. And we take this, and we, again, put it together and try to see what are the priorities for the community. And then we put it in a document that we have to submit to the state. This time about 300 pages that we have to keep documented for the public every 4 years. And it is what we use for any type of grants or anything we may go for. One thing that made this community health assessment very unique was the year prior, we completed the behavioral health needs assessment, which was a great foundation to start the community health assessment. You saw the previous cycle had a behavioral health focus on opioids. So with that, if you may remember that there were 30 focus groups that were completed with about 150 community stakeholders and 431 responses based on that survey alone. And you can see the priorities that were identified from that behavioral health needs assessment on advocacy and policy change, the awareness and reduction of stigma, early intervention services, behavioral health services for those in the criminal justice system, continuum of care and service gaps for youth, continuum of service care gaps for older and adults, workforce retention, and also social determinants of health. So it was great to have that data to put in with other primary data that we needed to collect. So with that, the survey that we all did, and you all graciously talked about in commissioner comments. So it was 56 questions. It's a survey instrument that we've used for previous cycles. We have meetings to look at if we need to change it, what questions should be better worded. And one thing we did this time that we did not before was, do you live in Rockingham County, but also do you work here? We do want to focus on those that live here. However, those that do work here may see something that in the community is in need as well. So we collected over a 71-day period, and about 340 individuals actually completed this. I don't have the number in front of you, but based on what we could see, it was about a 97% completion rate, meaning those that started it did finish it, and that's pretty big for 56 questions. A lot of people, I know when I go to the boat ramp, I joke about it. I get asked a survey while you're there. It's 4 or 5 questions. I don't want to answer that. I just want to go because I didn't catch anything that day. But with that, I was very proud of our staff that worked on this. Our previous cycle was about 169 surveys, so we doubled the actual number of individuals that completed the survey. And if you look at the number of those that completed the survey over the demographics of the county, it was fairly even with that of the county. Minus the median age was a little bit higher. You do see more females did complete the survey, but we typically see that in survey research that women will take more time to complete these surveys. So I was very proud of how that actually compared to the overall community. And we also have to compare this data with what the state provides with us with peer counties. So you can see one thing that's been great to look at with the American Consumer Survey with the U.S. Census data that we have seen an increase of about 1.6 or 2% of individuals since the 2020 census. One thing that's very interesting with the community, you can see we are an aging population. I've heard it termed as the gray wave. PTRC has estimated by the year 2036, there's the opportunity 1 in every 3 individuals could be over the age of 60. So you can see there are children, a lower number estimate in 2036 for children 0 to 17, adults 18 to 59, but you can see that increase there in the over 60 population. One other significant thing we saw was a change in life expectancy. It went down about 3 years, and that was attributed primarily to the deaths, so the 345 deaths from COVID-19. Which brings us to the leading causes of death that we look at from vital records. You can see the top 5 there were heart disease, cancer, unintentional injury, and I want to clarify for that one, that is falls, poisoning, so accidents like that, it does not include motor vehicular collisions. Chronic lower respiratory diseases, so any disorders with the lungs, so COPD, and then COVID-19.
Trey, I'm sorry, real quick. Does that include overdoses on unintentional injuries?
For poisoning, depends on what was actually on the death certificate, so it can. So unintentional overdose or poisoning, it can be on there. We take that data, I've already said that, and we actually had a priority meeting in August at the library in Eden, and we showed this data to some of our stakeholders, and we asked them questions. One, you see the data, but what are the strengths and assets that are in our community? What challenges do you see? And what are some of the themes and trends? What do we need to do to address these? So a comparison of that, I've already said the previous priorities. I wanted to compare those to the new priorities, and you can see most of these stayed in align with that. So mental health with the emphasis on substance misuse, physical activity and nutrition with an emphasis on food access, and then social determinants of health with an emphasis on early childhood education. And you'll see some data about that in the next slides. So mental health, substance misuse, 69% of those that responded to the survey said that they or someone they know had been affected by a mental health issue within the last 3 years. And about 60% were aware of some type of resources in the county. And I want to note from the same survey in the prior 2020 was about 70, so that had went down. The rate of overdose death and rate of deaths and overdoses in the county was higher than that of the state. And most of this was attributed to heroin, fentanyl, and cocaine.
When you say they're higher, do you have the actual numbers?
I can give it to you. I don't have it in this slide deck.
Okay.
I think I actually have it in my notes here. So Rockingham County had a rate overdose death of 45.7 per 100,000, and that was significantly higher than the state rate of 27.6 per 100,000. And we, as you all know, for statistics, to standardize it, everything's put typically in about 100 per 100,000 ratio.
Where does that rank as far as counties in the state? Is there a list of that?
Yes, I can get that to you, but I do not have that here.
That's fine.
But I know we, when you compare us to our peer counties, we were, I think, the third highest. Oh, knock that over.
Which counties do you consider our peer counties?
I can pull that back real quick. Based on the state statistics, it was Alexander, Burke, Caldwell, Madison, Pearson, and Stokes. And that was based on some of the parameters that the state provided us from the Center of State Health Statistics. So physical activity and nutrition, estimates of adult obesity in the county range from 28 to 40%. That depends on the data that you see from the Center of State Health Statistics. 37% of the respondents indicated that they do not typically engage in any type of vigorous physical activity. So that is 30 minutes or more that increases the heart rate at least 3 to 5 times a week. And 56% said they do consume fewer than 3 servings of fruit and vegetables per day. And 41% indicate the cost of food has affected their ability to access healthier food, and also income was a factor. I do want to note from this, there's something that we've studied in survey design called the healthy worker or the Hawthorne effect, that if I know I'm being asked a question, I will answer because what I think the folks may hear. So I do think some of these numbers actually might be lower on some of the fruit and vegetable intake based on that phenomenon with research design. The social determinants of health, so 40% of the residents in Rockingham County live, their income is below 200% of the federal poverty line. That is something from the federal rate based on household size and your income, where you would sit on that. So an individual that's 200% of that would be, for one person, roughly about $30,000. 16% of the residents age 25 or over do not have a high school diploma, and about 13% do not have some type of health insurance. And 26% of those that completed the survey said that child care was a lacking service. More specifically, when we looked at the child care facilities, only about 7% of the staff have training or experience with children with developmental delays, children with Down syndrome, or some type of hearing impairment. But other concerns also included digital literacy, housing, and transportation around that when we talk about early education. So the next steps with that, again, we have to, for general statute, accreditation, and an administration code, we prepare a community health assessment, we develop community improvement plans, we present this to our elected bodies and the public, and then we start implementing programs to address these through this next 4-year cycle with our community partners as we continue on in our mission. Any questions?
Any questions, gentlemen? With that, thank you, Mr. Wright. Appreciate this presentation.
All right, thank you.
Ronnie Date.
Good evening, gentlemen. I've got one item, it's three parts to it, and these are requests for design contracts for our water and sewer system, as well as for some upgrades for Mayodan's sewer treatment plant and their water treatment plant. First one is influent pump upgrades at the Madison Sewer Treatment Plant, contracts for $409,000. Second one is for plate seller upgrades at the water treatment plant, $399,000. And the last one is booster pump upgrades along US 220 for a contract of $680,000. And Bill Lester's here tonight with LKC Engineering to give you some more details on those if you have specific questions. And I'll turn it over to Bill.
Thank you. Mr. Lester?
Thank you, Board. I won't add any more detail than you want, but I'll touch on all of those just a little bit, maybe to stir any questions that you may have. The first one was the Mayodan wastewater plant influent pump station. While we are concerned with a lot of projects right now going over budget, that's not what this is. This is part of the work to bring the facility back to its capacity of 4.5 MGD to meet your demands that you've entered an agreement with. The influent pump station needs for upgrade were something that was not known at the time. It is a requirement of the Department of Environmental Quality that they are requiring a higher peak flow be able to consistently be moved through the facility. We're not changing the capacity. It's just a change in what they required then versus now. That's what that first one is for. The second one, as you know, you're in interlocal agreements to get technically 2 million gallons a day from Madison, but that's technically 1 million from Madison, 1 million from Mayodan. You've done some improvements within the system at Madison to move that water to you quicker. This is something that will allow Mayodan to move the water through their treatment facility a little better, to get to the promised 1 million gallons a day that they're promising you without a little extra hardship. They've got a 1.5 MGD facility that when you install plate settlers, it is an enhanced treatment option that allows them to do probably just a little more treatment in a little less time. So that's what that does for the facility there to support the interlocal agreement. The booster pump station upgrades, as you know, to move that water and meet those agreements, what you'll need to do within your own system. We are in the process of bringing Hogan's Creek Booster Pump Station online. We received a competitive grant to do that work a few years ago. And the remaining pump stations down there, you've got Gold Hill Pump Station. We've done some minor things to kind of limp us through the interim, but this will be able to upgrade that booster pump to meet the demand that I know you're seeing come before you almost monthly with some of the growth happening in the southwestern part of the county. And then another booster pump that we anticipate is probably going to be to keep that furthest pressure zone tank filled, and that's out towards the corporate park and all of that area around it. Again, I don't want to get into the weeds unless you want me to, but your system is kind of different pressure zones with tanks at different heights, and this helps keep all of that moving and moving at such a rate that you can keep the tanks filled, keep fire pressure to these new and developing communities. And as you know, as these growth items occur, there'll probably be some other things, but what we're trying to do is make sure we're covering the booster pump stations in this particular case is the movement, the supply of the water to all of these new developments. As a part of that, there are some controls and upgrades that are part of all the booster pumps and the overall system that will allow you to make sure you're keeping everybody served the way you should as you grow. Hope that wasn't too much, but if it's not enough, if you've got questions, I'll answer them.
Any questions? Commissioner Barrow?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Mr. Lester, help me with my memory here. I feel like within the last 6 months you were here and we approved to do some upgrades for Mayodan's water treatment facility. Can you explain to me what we've already done versus what this is going to do, or why this wasn't requested earlier?
I do not recall that we did that. I'm searching here. I hope I'm not having a senior moment.
I think it was for at the sewer treatment plant, it was the bar screen.
Yes. That is correct.
Yeah, so that was, I don't think we've had any requests to do anything at the water treatment.
My confusion, yeah.
I'm sorry, Commissioner, that at the wastewater plant, there was, a few years ago, the board approved some very small interim improvements, and I think the meeting you might be talking about there was some overages in those costs, and I think there was, I would be wrong if I guessed the number. It was
No, that's
probably
okay.
$150,000 to $225,000.
It was my confusion on where it was, so sorry about that.
And just so you know, that bar screen is in place and operational. We were out there, did a tour, was it last week or the week before?
Week before, I think.
It was actually out there on site work.
Thank you.
Commissioner Powell?
Ronnie, how are we paying for this? It's about $1.5 million. Where's this money coming from?
It is from Office of State Budget Management and the grant funding from Senator Berger's office. And
So this does not come out of our general fund?
No, sir.
It's not part of the tax base?
No, sir.
That's from our Santa Claus.
Which is your dad?
These are designated projects within the OSBM money that the board received, that the county received.
Any questions, gentlemen? With that, we'll accept a motion.
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion to approve and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Very good. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank y'all.
Next, we have Ms. Kara Donner, Via Health. Thank you for being with us tonight.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. Kara Donner. I am one of the community relations directors for Via Health. And for those of you who don't know about Via, it is one of the state managed care organizations. There are 5 in the state. We manage 32 counties. We manage Medicaid for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, substance use disorders, and for a short time, foster care. And what we like to do is update the county quarterly on what's going on in your county, what's going on in the state, address some of the trends, and also educate the public on the services available, because there are a lot. And people usually don't know telephone numbers, which I want to share in a little bit. But wanted to go through the presentation. I don't know if it will come through the slides or not. Or is it in front of me? Where am I?
Allison will help you out.
Okay. Thank you. Bless you. And I can just click through. Okay. All right. So one thing I definitely want people to know about is it's called an innovations waiver, and it helps families with people or children or loved ones with disabilities. It's really a great service, and you have to apply for it, and you can be on the waiting list for up to a decade. But if you get on it, it is really a wonderful list, really a wonderful service that the state offers. So you can see in this slide right here, you can see members who are on the waiver, receiving the waiver in Rockingham County, 109, and you can see 137 people are waiting. So if you have a child who could use some assistance, I have friends across the state who utilize this service, and just for an example, a friend of mine has a 24-year-old, and he's able to live independently. He's autistic, but he has a tiny home. He has his PlayStation, everything, and care 24/7. Care managers come in. They have meals for him, help him take his medicine, and it is really amazing because it's a better alternative than living in a facility, and cheaper. And that's something we don't ever talk about, but an Innovations Waiver member slot is about $120,000 a year, but it's about triple to be in an institution for the state. So it's quite a savings difference. So I'm going to get kind of nerdy, so I'm going to go through these really quickly to not put everyone asleep for those who are remaining. But just wanted to give you some data on community hospital inpatient admissions. So you can see right here, you can see mental health, and the other thing on the other side is substance abuse. So you can see the different numbers there. This is emergency department admissions. You can see readmissions are in red. So some counties have walk-in centers. We're lucky to have that here in Rockingham County. So just to go through some data with you. So when someone walks in a walk-in center, we want to make sure that they're seen within 15 minutes and that they're assessed within 2 hours. And so you can see in this next slide how the county is performing and who is coming into these walk-in centers. And you also can see routine, urgent, or emergent. So urgent is someone who can be seen within 24 hours. It's not a life-threatening situation. Emergent is someone who it could harm themselves or other people. So you can see in those numbers who is presenting.
Tara, I'm sorry, may I interrupt you one second?
Absolutely.
Just for the benefit of the public, when we're talking about these walk-in centers, are you referring to the BHUC or are you?
Yes, the BHUC, yes, which is run by Daymark, and you'll see more numbers here.
Thank you.
Yes, which is a great center here. So you can see here the number of urgent and emergent people who are seen at the Daymark facility, and that's April to June. And so we are kind of slow to get our numbers. We have to report to the state, so there will always be a little bit of a delay in getting you the up-to-date information. And you can see here the members we've served regarding children and adults. And here's the intensity of need and the wait times. You can see that there is some improving to be made and time to assessment. So remember, we discussed that people need to be assessed within 2 hours. So that's not where we want it to be yet. And here's the disposition of members. Most of the time, we see people in outpatient. Outpatient is the majority of people who are seen in most centers across the state. And we also have mobile crisis management, and I want to make sure that the public knows the numbers that they can call in Rockingham County. So Daymark is the provider, and we have a mobile crisis line, and anyone can call that at any time. You don't have to be receiving Medicaid. If there's a situation you can't control at home regarding mental health or a substance use issue, you can call this number. They can come to your home. This can be a diversion before someone goes to jail. This can be a call made from a school. So it's a great service that everyone needs to know. So that number is 866-275-9552. And also, if there's ever a suicide issue, you can dial 988, and you'll be helped. It's unfortunate how we're seeing the numbers rise in suicides, even at the elementary school level. So I will continue. You can see this is your mobile crisis provider, which is also Daymark. You can see the members who were seen, mostly adults, and mostly in mental health. This is your provider. This is how many people were seen between April and June. And like I said, mostly outpatient services with supports. And these are the age groups. So here's some information on your facility-based crisis, which we don't have yet because this is fairly new data for the state. I'm just going to go through this. And here is the information on the behavioral health urgent care here in Rockingham County. So you can see the count of the users. You can see the members utilizing the BHUC. Sorry, this is kind of nerdy. I did not do these slides. We have data people, so they kind of get a little crazy. So here you can see it kind of breaks down if it's a general hospital ED or inpatient, if people in a residential facility. This is basically all of the numbers for Rockingham County. And you can see down at the bottom, mobile crisis team. So one person use that service. That's why I wanted people to know that number, because that service should be used. Here's some more data. You can see people being transferred to a hospital ED. And the biggest reason for behavioral health urgent care is to divert someone going into the hospital or into the jail system. And I will say you have one of the best sheriffs in the country. He's amazing, and his staff. We work very closely with him, and the jails. As most of you know, about 70% of people in the prison system have either a mental health diagnosis or substance use diagnosis. Most of the time, it's dual. So we really want to, get people before they go into the system. So a lot of these programs are designed to be to prevent them from going into the system in the first place. And I think that's it for me. Do you all have any questions? I know I went through a lot of data.
Any questions, gentlemen? With no questions, thank you for being here. We appreciate your report
Thank you so much.
tonight.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
Next item on our list is new business. Mr. Manager, is there any new business?
Yes, sir.
With that, we'll move to commissioner comments, and we'll go to Commissioner Barrow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for everybody that came out tonight. I'm a stickler for making sure that we don't jump over Thanksgiving to get to Christmas too early, but because of the way our meetings fall, I do want to just make everybody aware of some Christmas parades that are coming up. So Sunday, November 24th, we have the Reedsville Parade. Will be at 4 p.m. Friday, November the 29th, Stoneville will have its tree lighting, and then also that night we will have the Old Leaksville nighttime parade on Washington Street. November the 30th, Stoneville Christmas Parade. December 6th, there will be a tree lighting in Reedsville and in Wentworth at the park. And then on Saturday, December the 7th, Madison Downtown Tree Lighting and the Children's Parade in Draper. So make sure you go out and check out these parades in this coming up holiday season. And thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Also, thanks to everybody that came out tonight. We certainly appreciate that. And thanks to our Pledge of Allegiance and our invocation people. I'd like to recognize our Veterans Association here in the county that put on a remarkably good, I thought, veterans program last Sunday. And my appreciation to all of those folks that were involved. I'd also like to recognize an outstanding performer amongst our troops here, and that's Chris Elliott, our risk manager. He's had some extreme challenges, I think, of late, and has done a really good job for us. He travels a long way to be with us on a daily basis. And I think he provides an excellent service. And so if you see Chris Elliott, thank him for doing a great job. In regard to the holiday, Thanksgiving is coming up next week. It's a highly traveled holiday. And so please be careful out there as you make your way to family, friends, or whatever recreation in regards to the Thanksgiving holiday. And we wish you very well. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Berger?
Yes, thank you. I want to start with thanking Don for his service. I know we recognized him earlier tonight, but it's been a real honor to serve on this board with you. I think you've brought a number of things to this community that, and a perspective that we really didn't have before. The employees of this county owe you a lot. You being a former employee was the one that really brought to our attention the pay scale and some of the issues there. And so you've made a tremendous difference in the time that you've been here, and you will greatly be missed, without a doubt. Also, you never know when your life's going to change. You never know what may happen in the next 5 minutes. We had a young man in Eden, Trooper Wright, whose life was forever changed. I believe it was last Monday when he lost his arm, or part of his arm. I believe it's from the elbow down. And, his life changed, but his spirit is really remarkable. And, of course, moving forward, he and his family will need your thoughts and your prayers, and he'll have tremendous medical expenses that if you're inclined to help, there are some things you can do. One was a meal tonight that Santana's in Eden was putting on. Beyond the meal, there are shirts that you can get from NC Reps, which is Dr. Dabb's facility over in Eden. There's also some other T-shirts out there and some other ways to donate. Trooper is a junior at Moorhead High School, and really just a testament to hearing the stories of how he has handled this at this point is really remarkable. But keep that family in your thoughts and prayers. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Berger. Commissioner Powell?
So we'd like to recognize our elected leaders, and I think the only elected one I saw tonight was Sheriff Sam Page, but we had Melody Schuler here, which is the town manager from Mayodan, and she was here earlier. So we thank those two for coming out. Let me just say that, you always forget something that you were going to say. The greatest thing that I'll take away from this board tonight is the friendships that I've made with these guys, and I certainly appreciate the remarks from Commissioner Berger. But let me just say this, and I mentioned this earlier. Our country seems to be divided, but in this case, our county seems to be divided as well. And there needs to be some healing in the county. As I said earlier, the politics here have gotten rather nasty. We have to work with each other. We go to church with each other. We attend meetings such as this with each other. And so we need to be conscious of the fact that we can't spread disinformation and we can't make rude and remarks about people and make up lies about them and do that on Facebook and social media behind anonymity, because it affects our county and it affects the relationship we have one with another. There's always decisions that will be made by public bodies that not everybody will agree with. They can't, because in every decision there's a winner and a loser, if you would have it that way. But what we can do is make decisions based on the needs and the wants of all 92,000 people, not just a mob that shows up or not just a popularity contest, but it has to be about everybody in the county and how your decision relates to them as a whole. And as I said tonight, we have good leadership here in this county, and so I hope that all those listening to this as you go forward into the next election, be sure to do your homework. And I can assure you, if it's on Facebook, there's a 99.9% chance that it's a lie. And I wouldn't pay a lot of attention to that. So just be conscious of the people that are giving of their time to work and help the county, because if we continue to put out this kind of negative media on these people, it will become harder and harder to find qualified people to come and take part and lead the county. And we certainly don't want to do that. So with that, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Powell. And again, I appreciate your service to this community. You've been a great county commissioner, and you will be missed. With that, I again would like to say happy Thanksgiving coming up next week. And our next meeting is December 2nd at 6:30 here in the Governmental Center. And with that, we will accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor say aye. Very good. We are adjourned.